Here we go. We are getting into our next game, into our next semifinals. The winner of this series will be facing off against Hero in the grand finals. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the Chinese Terran, the reigning world champion, also representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Here we go. Protoss OP, a Protoss 1, but PvP is unwinnable. True. Very true. As we are getting into our openers, and I'm really curious to see how greedy Dark is going to be. We've spoken about this before, specifically regarding Golden Aura. You can go for some more greedy openers here, going for a hatch pool into a third base. I'm curious if Dark is going to be skipping his gases, as he has been doing quite frequently. As there it is, there's the spawning pool, and no gases. So, to put things into context, this is a build that you can... I'm becoming a broken record. But this is a build that you can pull off on Golden Aura, specifically because of how close together these bases are, because of how congested this area is. Dark is taking it one step further. I assume that... okay, there we go. I was like, is he going to the gold base? He's scouting, he's checking for a proxy. Now, because he's going because he's going for a gaseous opener, this does delay, or he's actually sending his overlord across the map, not checking for proxy, so he's just making sure he's safe, going for that third. So again, on this map, because there are two very narrow choke points here, you can defend with queens and with slowlings. You do not need to rush into ling speed. It is not something that you need to prioritize. You can be hyper greedy here on Golden Aura, very similar to Radisset Station, very similar to Neo-Humanity. Meanwhile, behind this, Oliveira just going for a Racked Expand. Standard opener here from our Terran player. Racked Expand into that factory. And the first Reaper is moving across the map. Has hit the field. You do have a couple of slow links here to defend. You still have to make these links. You cannot skip them. But these should be the only links you need to make here for the next, until we get up to 3-base saturation. Up. One drone does not go down, as Dark is able to zone away that Reaper, force it back, and Oliveira is going for a 3cc before starport. Very economic build here out of Oliveira. Likewise, I believe he did see the timing of the third base. He is now aware of the gaseous opener. He saw how fast the hatchery was, so he knows, of course, that gas has been skipped. Now, gaseous openers like this usually lead into roach play, which again, it is going within line of how Dark plays. Dark, he is a roach boy. His favorite unit is the roach, of course, and he should be going into roaches here once he gets up to 3-base saturation. For now, he only has to make queens. Queens and drones. Queens and drones here for Dark. As one of those workers is under threat once again, and it is going to be saved. It doesn't even have to morph in a spore. Back at home, Oliveira, it is going to be 3cc before starport. There should be a Banshee. We should be seeing an add-on swap here between the racks and the starport. But we'll see if we... yeah, there we go. If we commit to it or if we don't. There's that add-on swap for the would-be Banshees. And especially against... oh, never mind! Okay, so it is not going to be 3cc Banshee. It's going to be 3cc into Raven instead. I don't know how I feel about this. On the one hand, Oliveira, he's a Twitch chat enjoyer. Twitch chat, they say, why are you scanning? Just make a Raven to clear creep. True, Bobby, true. The downside here, the reason why 3cc Banshee is so common, and it is so, it's such a good way to open up, it's such a safe way to open up. If your opponent is playing roaches, Banshees are ideal. Your Banshees, they can shut down roach bushes ahead of time. They can chip away at them. They can force a commitment or force them to back off, and yeah, they're just a really secure way to open up here in this matchup, especially against Dark, who is one to make roaches. To go into Ravens, this does mean that Oliveira is more vulnerable. It does mean that suddenly he's a lot more vulnerable to a roach attack. So I am a little bit concerned. Speaking of, Roach Warren is done. Gases are being taken. All the gases as well. We're going straight into a lair, straight into Roach speed. 1-1. We are skipping Link speed. Link speed is not necessary. Queens are getting in position. And these Hellions, they cannot get into a mineral line. Not like this. We do clear up some creep, that is true, but we have plenty of tumors being thrown down. Plenty of energy to work with, and Dark is now taking his fourth. He is fully saturated on 3 bases. He's up to 67 workers, which is 3-base saturation. And now he can focus on roach production. One of the Queens looking exposed, and we are going to be out positioning said Queens. We do not go for the mineral line. Roaches, they come out just in time, and Oliveira is going to be forced back. Now, thankfully for Oliveira, Dark is not hitting a 1-1 timing. He is going for 1-1, but that is +1 melee, not +1 range, which means Dark isn't going for a roach push. He has roaches, yes, but they're to defend. They are to keep up with the Hellions, and Dark is going to be transitioning into Ling Bane Roach Ravager off of these roaches. So roaches as an opener, but Ling Bane here in the mid game. Meanwhile, across the map, Oliveira is now establishing his third. It's slowly getting up and running back at home. Maxes are being taken, 1-1 is on the way, and we are just establishing ourselves and getting to the mid game. Now, because Dark was so greedy, he can afford to get away with a little bit extra. And that little bit extra, as an overload is going down, and the Marines are spotted, is a fast hive. When he was getting his 1-1, when he was getting his Bailey Nest, he threw down a very fast infestation pit. Hive is already on the way. And with this Dark, he is rushing into, he has access to Infestors in case there was a big push. He now has access to Vipers and Adrenal already. Very fast tech here out of Dark, and he can afford this because of how greedy he was early on, and Oliveira can't really punish him. Oliveira is working on a big push, like he's building up his tank count, he's working on 1-1, but he throws down a 4cc, he is not 8-raxing. Oliveira is looking to go to the mid game, or to the late game. He's looking towards the late game. He's going to be harassing though, as Hellions on the left hand side, he has a drop on the right, attempting to pull apart Dark. So far, Dark, he is unwavering, unflinching, he's in position. And he does come across the drop. Oh. Yo, we're going to the main where we have Lings waiting as well. Dark, he's at every witch turn. Every base here on every front line, and Oliveira doesn't find a way in. The Marine is going to go down. Vipers are already on the way. We can start Adrenal Glands momentarily. Ultra Cavern thrown down as we are racing into Ultras. Again, they are, of course, supported by the melee upgrades that we've been getting. Scan reveals the Hive and reveals the Ultra Cavern. This is a sign for Oliveira to start working towards Ghosts, or to give him a little bit of urgency to push now, before we can get into Ultras. Oh! As the drop is going to be forced back. And here we go. Here comes the push. Again, Oliveira knows exactly what Dark has been doing. He is now aware of how greedy Dark has been. And Oliveira is looking to punish. Moving out with everything he has. How many tanks? We have 4 tanks with the main army. The Raven, anti-armor missiles. So far, the Biles will not be connecting. Ling Bane is not ready for this. Uh-oh. We need more time. Not enough Bailey's anti-armor missile connects with the Roaches and Ravagers, but here come the Blinding Clouds. Good Blinding Clouds here on the tanks. The Ling reinforcements, they come in, and Oliveira is being completely overwhelmed. Dark was ready for this attack. He may not have had too many Bailings, but he had plenty of Lings, Roaches, Ravagers, and the Vipers. They came in clutch. They shut down most of the tanks, and without those tanks, Oliveira just did not have enough to keep on pushing. He's forced back home, and Dark is already at 200 supply. Again, just because of how many corners he cut earlier, he's on 5 bases, he's on 80 workers, or 77 drones, close enough. Kindness Plating is on the way, Adrenal is done, and we're going for a massive counterattack. And the tanks are out of position. They're at the 4th, they're not at the 3rd. There is a full wall though, so we don't quite bust in. We have Banelings on the way. Dark going to be rotating around. And he needs to trade. He needs to get rid of these Roaches and replace them with Ultras. Meanwhile, do we have tanks? That's what tanks we do. I was going to say, do we have Ghosts? The answer is no. No Ghosts yet. The Banelings need to bust in. Up. get into the middle line. 6 workers go down. Dark going to be rotating over towards the 4th base. Tanks are in position. Do we have a Ghost Academy? We still do not have an Academy. To be fair, we don't need one right now. We still need to deal with this Lingbane Roach Ravager army. Oliveira, he unsieges! No! He doesn't see the army. He doesn't know where it is. Oliveira, he's on the wrong side of the wall. The bases are exposed. Lightning clouds are thrown down, and the planetary is going to fall. A very awkward fight. Very awkward, but basically, Oliveira not in position to protect his base. Planetary falls, 15 SCVs as well. And Dark, he can race back home. He's making Lings, Banelings, and Ultras. For Oliveira, he is free to go for a big counterattack. Dark out in the open. We need to push in. Oliveira at this point, he's all in. He lost his 4th, he lost workers, he isn't replacing them. It's all or nothing for Oliveira. And here we go, he's coming in from behind. Lings, Banelings, Ultras as well. We do collapse on half of this army, but we can still keep going. That's a lot of Marines. What happened to the Vipers? The Vipers are dead. The Vipers are not here. And yeah, we have to give up this space. We cannot hold. Dark has to rotate over and give up this hatchery. And Oliveira, he is gaining ground. At the same time, Dark catching some reinforcements. Does catch a lot of units. But he's also trickling on in. I'm not too sure about this. Yeah, an overextension out of Dark is being forced all the way back. He's getting a lot done across the map. But he has to be patient. He does have to be patient. We have 2 more Ultras in production. The natural base, the 3rd base is compromised. Oliveira has nothing left back at home. And now we're pushing in. Dark, he pulls the trigger. He collapses on the army, and it looks like he should have enough. Tanks go down. A Liberator still survives, but there's nothing else left. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 1. That was a that was a scary moment. That was a moment when, of course, Dark had spent most of his Lingbane to break the planetary. He also lost his Vipers in the attack as well. And he was vulnerable to a counterattack. We are, of course, on Golden Aura, so very short rush distance by ground. Dark was looking quite vulnerable, but alas, Oliveira was not able to punish him, was not able to break through. And Dark does take the first game. GG. GG. Now we're getting ready for game number 2. Story time. I'm catching up. I'm catching up. Oh my god. Every time I tune in, it's ZVX. Oh, if only, Papi, if only. That's not the narrative that's been progressing through these past couple of weeks. But if you haven't been watching the Open Cups, then I can understand. I can understand. And here we go, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkyone, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming, leading the series 1-0. It is Dark. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Terran, the reigning world champion representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Oh, there are some people in the chat that don't know Smile. Smurge. Smile, for those who don't know, much love to Smile, aka Fuego. He's an ex-pro gamer. Oh, we have a pull first. Smile's an ex-pro gamer. Did, of course, live his life. Was a pro gamer for a long time. Especially back in the day, back in Heart of the Swarm. I feel like was probably the heyday of Smile. Nowadays, you know, he's been contaminated by the Uwu, by the Honkai Star anime girls. He's feels bad, man. We've lost Smile to the anime. Not like this, not like this. But it's okay though. It's okay. We still love Smile nonetheless. We love him. So yeah, that was my insanity. That was my insanity back in the day. Yeah. Let's go. As we are getting into our openers, and so far it is going to be a pull first here from Dark. It is going to lead into these faster lings. We have 6 lings on the way, going to be zooming across the map. And of course, across the map, we have Oliveira going for a standard Rax Expand opener. So we'll see if Dark can avoid the initial scout, if he can avoid this SCV, and get a delay on the expansion. That's going to be the goal here from Dark. Here we go. The SCV does confirm the late expansion. Oliveira does see that the hatchery, of course, is delayed, is aware of the pull first, and is racing back home. Speaking of, the Reaper is moving out across the map. Okay, Oliveira, he is unfaltering here. Reaper is moving out, which means this CC is going to be delayed. Reaper comes in looking for a drone. Up! Does get one! Pretty big pickoff. Drone does go down at the same time. Boys are being pulled. We do delay the expansion. That's a lot of boys. That's a lot of SCVs. A big reaction there from Oliveira, ensuring that he does not lose this expansion. He doesn't lose his SCVs. A lot of lost mining time though. As Oliveira does dip into the main base. Can be threatening that main. Forcing back those lings. And the game will settle from here. After all said and done, we did force a lot of lost mine time, so this was maybe worth it for Dark. It's hard to say because it didn't delay the space for too long, to be honest. Did force arguably an overreaction out of Oliveira, and now the game is going to be settling. This time, link speed is on the way, we're not skipping it. It is unsafe to go for a gasless opener here on Alcyone, unlike on Golden Aura, and we are going into a very fast Evo chamber. Interesting. Very curious here from Dark. Oliveira, meanwhile, is going for a 1-1-1, a delayed third CC. A very aggressive build here from Oliveira. Reaper diving further into the main, getting a scout off. And did we see the Evo chamber? We did! Oliveira, he did spot that Evo chamber. I believe that should be for a fast +1 carapace, but I'm curious if we go into melee instead. There it is. Melee is on the way. This is going to be a Ling Flood out of Dark. No reason to rush into +1 melee unless it is just flood Lings across the map. A bold move here. Meanwhile, with this 1-1-1, we're getting into a fast medevac. We are going for a drop across the map. Boy, we'll see if Oliveira can meet aggression with aggression. I'm pretty sure Oliveira is going to hit first. Obviously, +1 melee is still a ways away. So Oliveira is going to be the first to hit the field. There we go, moving out with the Marines, as well as that Cyclone. Third CC is on the way. Not all in from Oliveira, just very committed, very delayed at third base. And so far, the drop has not been scouted. But the Lings are in position, and yeah, we're going to be forcing them to be dropped off. Stark has control of the watchtower. Meanwhile, Oliveira, he's going for a Hellbat follow-up. Okay, that is an armory. So we start off with a Marine Cyclone push, followed by Hellbats as well. That's a lot of Hellions. Soon to be a lot of Hellbats. Let's go. The push is upon us, and Dark is very vulnerable. How many queens? 5 queens. Oof, that is not a lot. About to be 6 queens, no Baneling Nest, no Roach Warren. Queen Ling to defend with minimal queens because of the build. Usually Dark, he would have up to 8 queens by now, but he's been skipping queens in favor of Mass Ling, and that is going to be completely shut down by the Hellbats. Just a really smart build here from Oliveira to punish what Dark is doing. We're pushing on in. Yeah, we do have queens in position. They try to focus down those medevacs. Spine Crawler will not finish. As we push towards those queens, the first Hellbat does go down. We are transfusing, but we have limited transfuses available. 3 queens are being made at a time. The Lings, they come back to defend, but they get annihilated. They cannot engage. And now we're chasing down the queens, one after the other. No energy to transfuse, not anymore. The medevacs, they barely do survive. Down go all the Lings and the queens as well. We do trade with the medevacs, but this is a hefty loss here for Dark. Losing every single queen. Liberator arrives. We barely have queens to begin with. We can't keep on pushing. The Cyclone will fall. It looks like Oliveira, he is running out of steam. But a couple of things to bear in mind is that, oh my god, he's not done. Getting 2 more workers. Bearing in mind that Dark is very far behind in workers. The reason why? Because he's been making Lings, because it was Ling flooding. Dark intentionally did cut workers to make a mass amount of Lings, and he has been trading poorly against the Hellbats. 76 Lings for 8 Hellbats. Crazy. And this means that we have nothing left. It means that this +1 timing that Dark wanted to hit is no longer going to be there. Okay, that's 83 Lings for 11 Hellbats. Back at home, Oliveira, he's on 3 bases. He has a full wall. He is safe and secure. And Dark has to try to pivot away from this. Lair is now on the way. A 7-minute 30 Lair timing. An insanely late Lair. Without Lair, no bailing speed, no 2-2. Just very delayed tech here from Dark. He's got a lot of catching up to do. Meanwhile, Oliveira, he's chilling. We're up to 5 Raxes. 3 more on the way. 8 Raxes in total, by the way. We know what that means. Aye. So I do like this a lot from Oliveira. I think Oliveira, he knows that he's ahead. He knows that he has momentum going his way. Once he gets his 3rd base up and running, we are just going to be sending it across the map. We'll see if he does decide to take his gases, but this looks like he's going to be going for a 3 base all-in as a follow-up. Again, these 3 Raxes instead of a 4 CC. Oh, never mind. There's the 4 CC on the way after the 8 Raxes, to be fair, but again, this shows us that Oliveira is not all in. He is thinking about that next step. So working further into this game. Mind Jump going to be coming in from behind. Dark trying to go Ling, Bane, Hydras even. Jump comes in. Rob does come back in. Likewise, Liberators killing Overlords. Not something you see every day, but that is 3 Overlords going down. Not insignificant to those Libs. Mind Drop doesn't get too much done. At least 1 Overlord does survive. Again, behind this, Oliveira, he's just building up his forces, getting into 2-2. We have a moment to breathe and a moment for everyone to recover and catch their breath. But again, it still feels like Dark still has quite a ways to go. 2-2 is on the way. Hydra upgrades. He is down in army supply. The Mind Shot's up! Ooh, are gonna go off. Massive connections there on the Lings. And a hot pickup from Oliveira. Does keep most Marines alive. As he does back off, there's a 4th base on the way. Here we go. The army is moving out. So far, completely unscouted by Dark. He doesn't see, he doesn't know, doesn't have control of the Xel'Naga. Oliveira just trying to be as annoying as possible. And here comes that army. Is spotted by an Overlord. And Dark out of position. How many Banelings do we have? We have 11 Banelings. But that is an insane minefield that we have to push into. Trying to force some friendly fire. Oof. Massive connections. Banelings are rolling in. But the splits. The splits are too good. Banelings are going down. Hydras are looking exposed. We have more Banelings. We do have a couple more Banelings. And it looks like it is enough to force Oliveira back. But again, Dark, he's barely holding on. We need more Ling Bane. We need time. Time to recover. As Dark has been able to resaturate and get up to 73 workers. drop heading towards the main, or even towards the 5th. Dark trying to keep up here with the multi-pronged aggression of Oliveira. Once again, Mine Shot's going to be going off. A bit of friendly fire there this time. At the same time, though, we have the Marine army pushing on the left-hand side. No Banelings! We do force back the army, but that was not the best trade from Dark, and you can see him dropping in supply. The Hydras are exposed! No! On their own, Hydras, they are so fragile, so vulnerable, and one does escape. Hydras are falling. And Oliveira, he's just not slowing down with his parade across the map. Snowballing out of control after punishing the +1 melee build of Dark. It's being a little bit too fancy, a little bit too crazy, and yeah, the Hellbat push did get out of control. We mentioned it at the time, but the Hellbats, they may not have killed the economy, they may not have killed too many workers, but Dark didn't have many workers to begin with. Because of his Link Blood, we stand and deliver. We just focus down all the Banelings. The Hydras are going down as well. We do force some friendly fire, but GG gets called, and Oliveira will tab the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. Dark having a little bit too much fun this game, going for a fast Evo chamber, going for a +1 melee Link Flood, and again, was completely shut down and taken advantage of by the Hellbat push. Again, I do think it was just really smart play out of Oliveira. Remember, he scouted the Evo chamber. He saw it ahead of time, and rushing into an Evo chamber that early on, it should mean nothing but +1 melee. If it was Miyamika, I would say +1 carapace, but that's because Miyamika has a very unique style of rushing into fast +2 carapace. It's crazy what Miyamika does. But likewise, even Miyamika would be punished by a Hellbat push as well. So yeah, just very smart play out of Oliveira, recognizing what Dark was doing and punishing him with that follow-up. Of course, getting an advantage and never quite letting go of it. GG, well played. And with that, we are tied up. We're going to game 3. We are going all the way to that 3rd game, and it's going to be on, Equilibrium. Interesting. This is typically a vetoed map. I'm shocked to see this here in a ZVT. Here we go. Spawning in the top right-hand corner of Equilibrium, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. Tying up the series, dropping a game there, being forced into the ace match. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left, tying up the series 1-1. Is what I meant to say for this player here for the Blue Terran. The Chinese Terran, the reigning world champion, also representing CranKy Gaming. It is Oliveira. Here we go. The Honkai is strong. It's strong, Papi. It's strong. Ads for small. Yeah. Of course, Papi. Of course. Here we go. Dark is having really hard times. I mean, again, it came down to the build of Dark. He was intentionally cutting workers, he was cutting tech, he was laying his lair, all to rush into +1 melee for a Link Flood. He was even cutting queens, if you remember. He only had 5 queens by the time the Hellbats arrived. So a lot of what occurred in game number 1 was because of the build that Dark was going for, and the scouting that Oliveira was able to get done as well. Because Oliveira was able to scout ahead of time, he saw what Dark was doing, was able to, get into a Hellbat push and take advantage of him. Again, really well done, really well orchestrated out of Oliveira. And now that we get into game number 3, I'm really curious to see how Dark takes this. So I did say something at the start of the series, or at the start of this game, sorry. I was surprised that this wasn't vetoed. This map is very much so considered to be the most favored Zerg map in the map pool. A big reason for this is the goal base. This goal base location is relatively easy to defend compared to other goal bases we've seen in map pools fast. And as a result, you actually can take this a little bit faster as a third or even as a natural fourth base. So you can take control of that goal base quite early on and just snowball out of control. We've seen it. As a result, we've seen this map picked quite often here against Terran and Protoss in something like WTL where vetoes are not allowed. So I'm ready for this. I'm excited to see what Oliveira has in store for us and how he approaches Dark on Equilibrium. As behind this, he's going for a third CC before Starport. Very economic build here out of Oliveira. Now, what I will say, even though the Zerg player can take the gold base a lot faster, likewise, if you recognize what's happening, you can, of course, attempt to punish it as well. Especially with these points of elevation, there are definitely siege locations where you can try to take control of this area. So there is a bit of a give and take here. But I could be getting ahead of myself. We'll see if Dark even does try to take this base as his fourth. For now, very conservative approach. Going to be taking the linear third base. Spreading his creep, getting into his game, into the ZVT. Behind this, we see 3CC before Starport. We did see earlier that we had an add-on swap to go into Ravens of all things. This should be for Banshees, but we'll see if we get into Ravens again, as we did in Game 1. Oh, gonna be a Viking first. You have my attention. Viking first does often lead into something like battle cruisers, but we don't see a fusion core behind this, and we had an add-on swap to begin with as well. So yeah, very interesting build here from Oliveira. With this Viking, he's going to be shutting down this Overlord, and he's going to be keeping Dark in the dark. Yeah, there we go. And what do we expect least here? We have a medevac coming out from this Tech Lab Starport. Viking, of course, going to be shutting this down, and we're going to be getting into a fast drop. Let's go. This is looking like a Hellion drop even, as the third base is being taken. Hellions, of course, have hit the field. Vying for map control. Meanwhile, Dark just saturating his three bases, getting into double evo chambers. Very, very economic opener here out of Dark. Very greedy, cutting some corners. With this double evo chamber, he delays his lair, and he delays his baneliness as well, in favor of upgrades. Which again makes plenty of sense, especially against an economic opener like what Oliveira is doing. We want to be cutting corners, and the Hellion drop is making its way towards the main. Oh boy. Hellion drop into the main. Hellion run by here on the right hand side as well. So far unscouted. There is a lot of potential, and Dark does not see this coming. A quick reaction out of Dark. He does have a couple of links in position. 2 workers go down. So far, only 2 workers. Hellion's taking a lot of hits. 1 Hellion does fall at the same time. Oliveira going straight for the third base. Queens, though, are ready for this. A lot of drones are going down. They're getting roasted. Oh, no! They're lining up. Oh. They are lining up. 11 workers go down. Links come out to reinforce, and it looks like these Hellions will be shut down. Not a bad start. Not a bad move here from Oliveira, but did we end up losing? Ooh. We did lose the medevac. That is a little bit brutal. It wasn't just the Hellions. Hellions, it's okay. They don't scale well into the mid game. We want to get rid of the Hellions. But losing the medevac, that is a little bit more brutal. 11 workers, not too bad. With that, Oliveira is able to take an economic lead, but we do have a massive counterattack. Not quite getting any SCVs though. So far, the defenses are strong, and Oliveira maintains his economic lead. Behind this, 4th CC is on the way. We're taking 2 additional gases, getting into a second factory, and this is a very tech-heavy style here out of Oliveira. Very different to what we saw previously on Alcyone in that previous game. So he's going to be focusing a little bit less on fire pushes, and he's going to be building up a pretty hefty tank count. This is a very turtle style from Oliveira. I'm sure he's going to be pushing once he gets like 5 tanks, but He has the option to turtle if he wants to. I hope he doesn't. I want him to be active, but we'll see. Meanwhile, the 4th base has been taken as the gold. We're double expanding behind this, getting a 5th and a 6th. And what is terrifying about this gold base is that it doesn't just have high yield minerals, but also rich Vespine gas geyser as well. So a lot of value to be had here in this hatchery. And Oliveira, can he punish it? Can he stop it from really getting up and running? 4th base is on the way. This 4-base setup from Oliveira is very secure. This 4th base is very safe just because the only way to harass here is through a bridge and through a choke point towards the north here. Very narrow entryways. You can wall off and turtle up, get a line of tanks, get tanks on the high ground as well here, covering the Zonaga. There's just a lot that you can do to fortify this location. Expanding towards the south is more difficult, but towards the north, again, 4 bases pretty well set up. Planetaries on the way. Tank production as well. We're getting into additional Raxes, and we are just going to be harassing here with Marines. Meanwhile, we don't have any setup here. The Lings, they come in, and they will deny the 4th. They will delay it a little bit longer. SCVs are going down. Tanks were not in position. The Marines likewise out on the field. And we even borrow a Ling. Just being as annoying as possible. And the creep is getting a bit out of hand. We're getting to the halfway mark. We have a double drop towards the south. Again, just going to be keeping the attention of Dark here on the drop play. Tank gets a couple of shots off, but it's alone. Tank is going to go down for free. At the same time, double drop also is forced to pick up. Oliveira, he isn't losing much, to be fair, but did lose a tank. Less than ideal. Meanwhile, Dark, he's droned up to 80 at this point, so 75. Essentially 80 with this rich Vespine gas geyser, of course, with this rich base, I should say. We have Hive, Adrenal on the way, Ultras as well. Dark, he's getting into his final form. And Oliveira is still turtling back at home. This is what I was worried about when I saw the second factory. Oh my god, now a 3rd factory as well. Jesus. Essentially getting into this, yep. Oliveira, he's just completely walling off. He's turtling up very hard. That's a lot of Lings. And where are the Marines? These tanks, they cannot protect themselves. 3, 4, 5 tanks, 6 tanks going down, and Oliveira, he was caught with his pants down. He was completely out of position. GG gets called, and in one swift move, Dark takes the series 2-1. GG. Oh my god. Oliveira, he was getting ready for the late game. He was completely walling off. He was getting ready to just turtle on up, establish himself on 4 bases. He had a massive tank line, turrets as well, but what he didn't have was Marines and a BioAri to protect those tanks. There were like 6 tanks in position and nothing else to support them. We had just the Marines were all in the field, right? We had a double drop in the center, we had a triple drop towards the south. All the Marines, they were just trying to harass and trying to deal economic damage. And Dark, he just sent everything through the center. He's like he just sent it, Papi, right through the center, right through the middle. Got on top of the tanks, and that was it. That was game. GG, well played. All over before it began. And to be fair, there was a very small window where Dark could pull that off. If Dark hadn't attacked when he did, we would 100% be locked into like a 20-minute game. That would we would have walled off, slowly worked towards a 4th base, and the game would have slowed down to a crawl, as we would see on maps like Gressman in Games Pass or Altitude. Or even Neo Humanity. So yeah, that was actually quite close. The window, the timing there, where Dark could afford or could go for a move like that before being completely shut down. GG, well played. And with that, we have our finalists. Oliveira is going to be tapping out, and the grand finals is upon us. It is going to be Dark versus Hero. Let's go. That's good. A part of me feels a little bit unsatisfied because, like, you could see where the game was headed. It's like we were deprived of like a late game ZVT, a back and forth, you know, a split map scenario. Do I really want that right now? I don't. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. You know, I'm very fond of ZVT. You know, the more ZVT I get, the better. But yeah, we were denied that, and with that, we are getting into our final series.